Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. This is another less produced video, but I'm numbering them now. This is the second one and I'll be talking about fighters, action surges, combos and weapon mastery feats. Weapon mastery feats? Weapon masteries. There we go. So, a few videos ago I had this idea of combos. These are things that all characters can do, but martial characters especially, and the fighter even more so. My desire is to encourage a movement away from just damage. We don't want to think about combat simply in terms of applying damage. We should have a situation where most attacks do damage and something, and that something can be decided by weapon masteries. We want to encourage a situation where characters are wanting to do different things with each attack. So instead of saying, in my turn, I'm going to hit this guy 3 times over the head with a sword, we want characters to say, I'm going to attack this target, this other target, and this third target. I'm going to hit the first one with my sword, the second one I'm going to bash with my shield, and the third one I'm going to kick in the shin. Because mechanically, it's better if I vary my attacks. I've discussed this idea of using the clear, cautious, and confounded status to encourage characters to move around between different targets. And my idea for combos was to use weapon mastery abilities to increase the variability of weapons and to change the nature of attacks. So, in summary, a quick recap. The 2024 Dungeons & Dragons rules brought in weapon masteries. The idea is that you pick a weapon and you gain mastery in that, and every weapon has a special ability that goes with it. I think this is great because it moves away from weapons just being a source of damage, but I think it could have gone a little bit further. I would argue that weapons should have 2 or 3 weapon mastery features for simple weapons and 4 or 5 for martial weapons, that you learn weapon mastery abilities rather than the abilities of a weapon. So if you have the cleave ability, you can use that ability with any weapon that is suitable for cleaving. And you can now have weapons differentiated not just on their damage dice, but on the weapon masteries they offer. So a scimitar and a katana and a medieval arming sword all have different weapon masteries, even if they all carry the same basic D6 or D8 slashing damage. So now we can have this cornucopia of different weapons that have meaningful differences. And you decide, these are the abilities that I would like to be able to do. I will pick the weapons that are compatible with these abilities. Or alternatively, I really like the style of this weapon. I will pick the abilities that go with this. Both options are entirely fine. Anyway, every time you land an attack, you get to pick one of the weapon masteries for that weapon that you will activate. Most can be used every turn. I would argue that all the weapon masteries that go for simple weapons can be used every single turn. And as a simple weapon probably has 2 or 3 different ones, not every single turn, every single attack. As simple weapons have 2 or 3 different weapon mastery abilities, every time you get to make an attack, you get to pick an ability to use. So there is a choice there. But I also want to encourage different choices. So my idea was that if you use multiple different weapon mastery abilities in the same action, you power up a little combo meter. So let's say your first attack hits, you get to use a weapon mastery feature. Brilliant. Your second attack hits, you get to use a second weapon mastery feature. Fantastic. Your third attack in this action, and note that I said in this action, not in this turn, but your third attack in this action, as a bonus, can use 2 weapon masteries. Now, these might be ones that you've already used, but perhaps you're encouraged to still use new ones. So perhaps you use a third and a fourth one on your third attack. And let's say you get a fourth attack this turn. Your weapons run out of masteries. You've used them all. That's fine. Maybe you have a weapon mastery associated with an improvised attack or an unarmed attack. So you've stabbed someone twice, you go in for a headbutt. You know what? I've got this weapon mastery for improvised attacks or unarmed attacks. I've used a fifth weapon mastery. Great. I now get a combo bonus. All my subsequent attacks in this combat are going to do a little bit more damage. And the idea is that you can power up your attacks through the fight by doing more and more combos. Now, obviously, characters are going to need to have more weapon masteries than just one or two. My thought at the moment is that all starting characters should have 2 attacks as a base. This really takes away the chance of getting an empty turn where you miss, that's your turn over, someone goes on. So it's the next player's turn. I really don't like that. Having 2 attacks gives you a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of choice, and a smaller chance of having an empty turn. So as you start off with 2 attacks, a starting character probably has 3 or 4 weapon mastery abilities, maybe more if you're martial. Non-martial characters just have simple weapon mastery abilities. The martial characters might have some martial weapon mastery abilities. And as you level up your character, you gain access to more attacks. I want every class to get extra attack at level 12. I want the martial classes to get extra attack at level 5 as well. And fighters and rangers perhaps even get another one at 17 or 18. I'd really like as well extra attack to stack to some degree with multi-classing. I'd like you to be able to get extra attack from 2 different sources, and then the level 12 for everyone and the ranger and fighter level 17 one would be additional attack. So you can get extra attack for 5 levels in barbarian, then you get extra attack again for 5 levels in fighter, and if you carry on with fighter at level 12 you get additional attack. So you've got extra attack twice. I'm fine with that. I think encouraging multi-classing that way is very positive. But anyway, you've picked up more attacks, you've picked up more weapon masteries, and you've got to a situation where, okay, maybe Great Axe is my favourite weapon. That has 5 weapon mastery abilities. I'm going to pick up a couple extra for unarmed fighting and another one for improvised attacks. And now I'm going to hit something with my axe. I'm going to hit another target with my axe. I'm going to kick something because it allows me to activate this additional weapon mastery. And I'm going to build up my little pool of weapon mastery abilities. And I've got this little tracker in front of me that's got spaces, and I've got weapon mastery tokens, and I put them in the tracker to show which different ones I've used. And when I've used 5 or 6 different ones in a turn, I get a bonus damage dice. Now, this bonus damage dice builds up over combat. So if you're really lucky, you might get an additional d6 damage per attack per turn. So after 4 or 5 turns, your martial characters are absolute gods on the battlefield. I think this is really fascinating because casters are normally really powerful at the start of combat. They've got their high-level spell slots and they throw them out. They do a lot of damage. But there's this reluctance to use another high-level spell slot because there is still this idea that I don't get them back until a long rest. So I'll do something big now and then we see what happens. So you've got one group of characters that start really powerful but then decline in power through the combat, and another group of characters who start less powerful but are getting more powerful through the combat. And that difference gives us a lot of opportunity for great gameplay. You've got one group that's getting more powerful, one group that's getting less powerful. There's a point in the middle where they're equal, and then the fighter goes, right, it's my time to shine now. Check out what I can do. I think that would be wonderful. So combos. Combos encourage you to do different things. You're not just hitting 3 times with a sword. You are doing different weapon mastery abilities on every attack. You're using different attacks because it might do less damage, but it unlocks different weapon mastery abilities so you can fill up your combo counter. I think this would make combat fascinating, and I think it would really shine with the class action I have in mind for fighters, which I'm going to talk about in my next video. So that's a rehash of my idea on combos and weapon masteries. I'm going to need to write out loads of weapon masteries, and that's quite challenging. So if you've got any ideas for weapon masteries, stick them in the comments and I'll give you a shout out if I use them. That's much appreciated, and enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.